What if you buried your dead logs and branches in your garden and they watered your crops for you for the next 7 years for free? Hugelkultur is a German farming technique where buried rotting wood acts as a sponge, holding up to 10 times its weight in water and slowly feeding your soil nitrogen as it decomposes. After year 2, most Hugelkultur beds in moderate US climates need 0 irrigation. 0. The wood does the work. Unearth the $0 buried woodbed hack that eliminates your water bill and fertilizer cost simultaneously. Translated literally as hill culture, Hugelkultur is an engineered raised bed technique. It relies on a core of buried lignocellulosic material, plant dry matter like wood and branches, to dictate the hydrology and fertility of the soil above it. The method was refined in the 1960s by an Austrian farmer named Sepp Holzer. Working at an elevation of 1,500 meters in the Alps, Holzer faced deep winter snows, steep terrain, and exceptionally short growing seasons, conditions where conventional flat-ground agriculture routinely failed. Holzer realized he could stack the abundant fallen timber on his mountain property into raised mounds and cover them with forest soil. These beds produced heavy harvests in an environment that rejected traditional farming, and the technique has since spread to all 50 US states. This bioengineered system utilizes local decomposing carbon to convert harsh geographical and climatic disadvantages into self-sustaining fertility. To understand how this functions, we have to look below the topsoil at the first primary mechanism of the matrix, the hydrological sponge. This microscopic cross-section shows the cellular structure of fresh and partially rotted wood. It contains millions of tiny pore structures. As this buried wood absorbs moisture, it swells, expanding to hold up to 10 times its dry weight in water. When rain falls on a Hugelkultur bed, it percolates down through the topsoil. Instead of draining away into the subsoil, the moisture is captured and locked entirely inside this subterranean woody reservoir. During dry periods, the mechanics reverse. Capillary action slowly pulls the stored moisture upward through the soil layers, continuously feeding the plant roots from below. This retention is highly efficient. Agricultural extension research from the University of Vermont documents that Hugelkultur beds in moderate US climates typically need 0 supplemental irrigation after the wood fully saturates in year 1 or 2. By utilizing cellular physics, the internal wood matrix replaces active surface watering by operating as a permanent, automated subterranean water tower. The water retention is paired with a second pillar of the system, sustained nutrient cycling over a 3 to 7 year decay timeline. In year 1, the structurally intact wood temporarily locks carbon and requires an external compost layer to support initial plant growth. The fertility engine has not yet started. This chart tracks the timeline of the breakdown. During years 2 through 5, fungal colonization rapidly softens the wood. As the physical mound height steadily decreases, the release of bioavailable nitrogen spikes, peaking around year 4 and driving maximum crop yields. By years 5 through 7, the graph lines converge as the wood matrix completes its breakdown cycle. It converts entirely into stable, hyper-fertile humus, leaving behind a flat line of premium dark topsoil. This biological breakdown process introduces the third pillar, thermodynamic microclimate engineering, driven by the exothermic reactions of the wood decay. Just like a compost pile, the internal microbial activity within the bed generates sustained, low-level heat. This increases the localized soil temperature by 2 to 5 degrees Celsius compared to the surrounding flat ground. This internal biological battery feeds the plants while buffering against frost. For temperate growers in USDA zones 5 through 7, that ambient soil heat extends the growing season by up to 4 weeks. To harness these 3 pillars, the physical construction must follow a specific sequence. It starts with orientation. Beds perform best running east-west to maximize solar gain on the south-facing slope. This exploded view schematic outgrinds the exact construction sequence. It begins with an optional 30-centimeter trench, followed by 15 to 40-centimeter hardwood base logs. Then come smaller branches, a mandatory green material layer, compost, and finally, a cap of 15 to 20 centimeters of topsoil. The green nitrogen layer, typically grass clippings,
is strictly required between the wood and topsoil. It forcefully ignites the microbial decay that breaks down the dense carbon below it. The inputs you choose determine the lifespan of the bed. Optimal hardwoods include oak, maple, and apple due to their steady, medium-rate decomposition profiles over that 3 to 7 year window. Cautionary tone: you must avoid allelopathic species like black walnut. Their wood and bark contain juglone compounds that chemically suppress nearby vegetable growth. Similarly, decay-resistant wood like cedar halts the microbial process, and fresh, unaged greenwood causes excessive nitrogen loss as it tries to cure underground. A hugelkultur bed is a highly precise biological recipe. Using the wrong chemical inputs or failing to cap it with adequate topsoil depth neutralizes the 7-year decay mechanism entirely. Because the bed changes chemically over time, your vegetable planting strategy must map directly to the structural age of the mound. Year 1 presents an acidic, lumpy environment over intact logs. This requires resilient, heavy feeders like squash and pumpkins, while deep-root vegetables like carrots must be avoided so they don't fork on the hard wood. By year 2, the wood softens and the peak fertility window opens. This is when the bed effortlessly supports demanding crops like tomatoes, tall summer corn, and root vegetables through year 5. You can stack this vegetable yield with an advanced mycological integration by intentionally planting Stropharia rugoso annulata, winecap mushrooms, into the wood chip layer during initial assembly. The fresh wood matrix provides the exact natural habitat required for these fungi, generating an entirely separate premium food crop. The wine caps yield heavily in years 1 through 3, right as the wood is most actively decomposing. As the wood breaks down and the mushroom's food supply naturally exhausts, the vegetable roots take over. Inoculating the matrix creates a stacked, successive dual harvest system. You harvest mushrooms first, then vegetables, extracting 2 separate crop yields from a single carbon input. When we contrast the wood core matrix with a standard flat raised bed model, the discrepancy in resource drain and economic efficiency is stark. This chart compares economics. A standard raised bed requires $130 to $290 for lumber, soil, and inputs. A Hugelkultur bed drops initial costs to between $0 and $40. Over 7 years, conventional bed costs exceed $700 in overhead. Hugelkultur demands $0. Achieving that $0 baseline requires minimal sourcing strategy. You can utilize neighborhood garden waste, request free logs from tree services, or use chip drop for free delivery. This biological system also scales across macro geographies. In the arid southwest, you dig deeper trenches to maximize rare rainfall capture, while in the warm, humid southeast, the beds decompose much faster, exhausting their carbon payload in about 5 years. Conventional raised beds operate as a continuous liability, requiring constant external inputs. A closed-loop Hugelkultur system actively appreciates in biological value every year it sits in the ground. All this underlying engineering and biochemistry can be condensed into a practical 48-hour weekend deployment plan. Friday is for sourcing. Contact a local tree service or post on neighborhood boards to secure free wood chits, dead logs, and fresh grass clippings. Saturday is for construction. Dig out the perimeter, lay down your heavy hardwood base matrix, pack the gaps with branches, and cap it all with your nitrogen greens, compost, and topsoil. Sunday is for planting. Inoculate the wood chip edges with wine cap mushroom spawn and plant your initial, heavy-feeding squash starts directly into the fresh soil cap. Dead wood buried deeply in your soil feeds and waters your garden for 7 straight years at absolute $0 cost. Unearth the History brings you the $0 Hugelkultur hack that eliminates irrigation and fertilizer from your garden permanently. Build your first bed, grow your first free harvest, and subscribe to keep the wisdom growing. By engineering dead wood into a living engine for food security, Hugelkultur transforms discarded waste into a permanent, self-regulating agricultural asset.